Imagine clocking in every morning knowing your coworkers will never complain, never quit, and definitely never say thank you. While everyone else is grabbing their morning coffee, you're unzipping a heavy-duty plastic bag to say hello to your first client of the day. They aren't going to complain about the service, but they aren't exactly great conversationalists either. Welcome to life as a morgue attendant. Your shift starts before the sun's even decided whether it wants to exist today. The building is quiet in that unsettling way, where silence feels loud. Fluorescent lights hum like they're nervous. The air's cold, on purpose, not office AC cold. More like your bones are reconsidering their life choices. Cold. You badge in, pull on gloves, and congratulations. You're now responsible for managing death like it's inventory. The first thing you learn is that death is not neat. TV lied to you. Movies lied to you. Crime shows with dramatic lighting and tasteful sheets absolutely lied to you. In real life, bodies arrive at all hours, from all kinds of places, in all kinds of conditions, and none of them come with a pause button. You don't get to say, actually, I'm not emotionally ready for this one. You just get a clipboard. You start with intake. This is where you log names, times, conditions, causes if known. Paperwork first, always. Because if you mess this up, it's not just awkward, it's a legal nightmare. One wrong tag, and suddenly the wrong family is crying over the wrong body. And congratulations, you've created a lawsuit and a lifetime of guilt in one move. No pressure. You wheel the gurney down the corridor, metal wheels echoing off tiled walls that have seen more than they'll ever tell. Every drawer looks the same. Stainless steel. Long handles. They slide out like filing cabinets, except instead of folders, it's someone's entire life reduced to stillness. Morgues don't smell like rot all the time, by the way. That's another lie. Most of the time they smell like disinfectant and cold air, which somehow makes it worse because your brain knows what's missing. You lift carefully. Always carefully. Bodies are heavier than you expect. Dead weight is not a metaphor. It's physics. There's a reason back injuries are common in this job. You're not just moving mass. You're moving someone who can't help you anymore. No shifting, no balance, just gravity being rude. Here's the fun part. No one warns you about rigor mortis. Muscles stiffen a few hours after death, locking limbs in whatever position they were last in. Arms don't bend, fingers don't relax. Sometimes you're trying to place a body properly, and it feels like wrestling a mannequin that refuses to cooperate. And yes, occasionally something cracks. You pause. You pretend you didn't hear that. You keep going. And then there are the sounds. Bodies make noises, gas escapes, joints shift. Air moves where it wasn't invited. The first time it happens, your soul briefly leaves your body. Eventually, you learn to ignore it, which is maybe the most unsettling part of all. You didn't scream. You just sighed and adjusted the sheet. Growth. You tell yourself you're professional, detached. This is a job, not a horror movie. But then you read a toe tag and see an age that makes your stomach drop, or a cause of death that's just one bad decision away from your own life. Statistically, morgue attendants deal with thousands of bodies over a career. Thousands of reminders that life is fragile, unfair, and extremely uninterested in your plans. People think the job is quiet, peaceful. At least no one talks back, they joke. Wrong. The living talk plenty. Detectives asking questions. Medical examiners needing assistance. Funeral directors waiting impatiently. Families calling for updates you're not allowed to give. You become fluent in the language of careful answers. I'm sorry, I can't discuss that. The examiner will contact you. I understand this is difficult. You say it so often it becomes muscle memory. And sometimes, yes, you see the families. The worst days are when someone has to identify a body. That's when the cold room feels colder. You stand off to the side, invisible but present, while someone's world collapses in real time. Screams, sobbing, silence that hits harder than noise. You don't cry, not here. You cry later maybe, or not at all. You learn to compartmentalize like a champion because if you don't, this job will eat you alive. Lunch breaks are weird. You wash your hands again and again. You sit in a break room eating something reheated, wondering how you're supposed to be hungry right now. You stop telling people at parties what you do for work because the reactions are always the same: fascination, discomfort, and at least one person asking if you've seen anything really messed up. You have. You won't describe it. You'll change the subject. Statistically, morgue and autopsy workers experience higher rates of anxiety and depression compared to the general population. Constant exposure to death does that. It rewires how you see the world. You notice risks everywhere. Cars feel faster. Stairs feel steeper. Silence feels suspicious. You don't romanticize death, but you don't fear it the same way either. It becomes familiar, and that familiarity is unsettling in its own right. Night shifts are their own special flavor of awful. The building feels bigger when it's empty. Shadows stretch. Every sound echoes. Your brain, traitor that it is, starts replaying every horror movie you've ever seen. You know nothing is going to move. You know that, but you still glance over your shoulder, just in case. And let's talk about smells again, because sometimes, yeah, they're bad. Decomposition is chemistry doing its thing without permission. Gases build up, fluids leak. You learn which masks actually help and which ones are lies with straps. You learn to breathe through your mouth. You learn that some things stick with you no matter how many showers you take. You also learn a lot about people. Not just how they die, but how they live. Tattoos tell stories. Calloused hands hint at labor. Surgical scars whisper about past battles. Sometimes you catch yourself wondering who they were, what they liked, whether they laughed a lot. You never get answers. You just slide the drawer closed. Every now and then, something genuinely strange happens. A muscle twitch caused by residual nerve activity. A hand that seems to move when you reposition it. It's science. You know that. Your heart doesn't care. It still skips. You still mutter something under your breath and keep working because the paperwork won't do itself. The pay? Let's just say no one's getting rich here. For a job that requires emotional resilience, physical strength, attention to detail, and the ability to function in constant proximity to mortality, the paycheck is humbling. You don't do this job for money. You do it because someone has to. And because, in a strange way, it matters. Because here's the thing no one expects. There's dignity in it. You're often the last person to care for someone. You make sure they're handled respectfully, identified correctly, prepared properly. In a world that can be careless and cruel, you're a small checkpoint of order and respect at the very end. Still, it sucks. It sucks when holidays roll around and you're working because death doesn't observe calendars. It sucks when friends complain about boring office jobs and you nod politely, knowing your day involved a stretcher and a grieving mother. It sucks when you dream about work, cold rooms, and endless drawers blending into your sleep. And it really sucks when you realize how numb you've become. The jokes you make to cope, the way you measure time in cases instead of days, the moment you catch yourself being surprised by a death that feels unusual, as if any of this should ever feel normal. Eventually, your shift ends. You log out. You step back into the outside world, where people are alive and loud and worried about traffic and dinner plans. The sun feels wrong on your face after hours under artificial light. You sit in your car for a moment before driving, just breathing, transitioning back to the land of the living. Tomorrow, you'll be back. The drawers will still be there. The silence will still hum. The job will still need doing. Because while it absolutely, unquestionably sucks to be a morgue attendant, someone has to stand at the end of the line and do the work most people don't want to think about. And today, that someone is you.